Hello and welcome to a new lesson. Today's lesson is Unit 6. I feel terrible. So basically, this is a phrase that you can say to describe your state, whether you are maybe in a bad condition physically, and maybe you are just tired, or maybe you just feel terrible because you've done something bad or something wrong, or you're just thinking about something that is not quite right. It says, what do you think is wrong with this man? Describe his symptoms. Okay, so the question says, what do you think is wrong with this man in the picture? What do you think is wrong with him? What's the matter with him? Describe his symptoms. We have the word symptoms. Symptoms are just the signs that you see on a person, or they come out on a person when they feel sick, maybe they feel not well, and so on. It says here, consider this favorite home remedies. Remedies. The word remedies is just home treatments. So it's just a treatment that is prepared at home. Usually involves natural ingredients or natural supplies that you have in the kitchen, like herbs, maybe vegetables, fruits, spices, and so on. It says in Turkey, that means in the country, Turkey, for a headache, put lemon slices on the forehead. For a cough, eat parsley. So when you have a headache, you just put lemon slices on the forehead, and when you have a cough, you just eat parsley, which is a type of spices, I would say, or herbs. In American, they would say herbs. They would say herbs, not herbs. In Mexico, it says for a headache, wrap a scarf around the head. For a cough, drink honey and lemon. And then it says, what home remedies have you tried? Did they work? So at home, what kind of remedies have you tried when you felt sick? Maybe you had a headache, maybe a stomach ache, and so on. All right, the conversation here, it says we have Louis and we have Jay, I think. So here we go. You look a little feverish. Are you okay? To tell you the truth, I feel terrible. Why? What's the matter? I have a horrible headache and a sore throat. Did you take anything for it? I took some aspirin, but it didn't do any good. I feel awful. My whole body aches. Why didn't you call the doctor? I thought I might feel better after a good night's sleep, but I feel worse this morning. You know, there's a pretty bad flu going around. Maybe you shouldn't go to class today. But I have a test this afternoon. Why don't you call the doctor and see what she says? You'd better take your temperature first. Then maybe you should lie down. That's a good idea. I think I'll lie down for a while. So the conversation here is between this man and the woman. So she says to him, "You look a little, or a little, depending on your pronunciation. You look a little feverish." Feverish is coming from the word fever, which means to have a high temperature. So he's not looking well. So she said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "To tell you the truth." That means to be honest, to tell you exactly what I feel. He says, "I feel terrible." Or he could say, "I feel horrible or awful." And then she says, "What's the matter? Why? What's wrong? What happened?" So you can just say, "What's the matter? What happened? Uh, what's going on with you?" and so on, or "What's wrong?" He says, I have a horrible headache and a sore throat. And then she says, did you take anything for it? That means, did you take any medicines or medication? Did you take any pills maybe? What did you take for this? He said, I took some aspirin, but it didn't do any good. That means it didn't work. No good results came out. I feel awful. My whole body aches. Why did you call the doctor? So he says, I thought I might feel better. And then here we have, what else do we have? There's a pretty bad flu, she says. She says, you know. So, it doesn't really have a meaning. Here it's just, just this is for the record, for your information, there's a pretty bad flu. That means there's a flu that's really bad going around. That means it's spreading. Everyone has been getting it. Everyone has been affected by the flu. So we can say something is going around. That means it's spreading. Everyone can see it or can catch it. Maybe you shouldn't go to class today. And here we have something else. She says, you'd better, that means you would better, you'd better take your temperature first. That means you better measure your temperature and see how high it is, or just to make sure that you're all right. And then that means just to get it checked. You have to check your temperature. And we have lie down, lie down. Sometimes we say lie down or lay down, with different spelling for lay. All right, let's move on here. Talking about symptoms. So we have the word symptoms. So we have the stress on the first syllable, sim, which is here the stress in the first one, symptoms. So symptoms are just the signs that you show when you feel sick, maybe not well. So they just appear on your body, maybe the color of your skin changes, something like that. You look a little feverish. You look a little feverish. Sometimes you would say you look a little pale. Pale like means your face looks pale and yellow. You're not really, the blood's not really flowing in your face. It is flowing, but you don't look fresh. And so this is the question. Then he says to tell you the truth. That means to be honest, to tell you exactly what I feel, to tell you the truth, to be honest. I feel terrible. You can say I feel terrible, I feel awful, horrible, I don't feel so well, I don't feel very well, and so on. And you can say why, what's the matter, or what's wrong. You can say I have a horrible headache, I have a bad headache, I have a severe maybe headache or pain, depending on what you really have. Giving, accepting, and refusing advice. So how you give advice, you accept it, and or you refuse the advice. You should take some aspirin. So this is giving advice. Maybe you're right. This is how you accept the advice. Maybe you can say, maybe you're right. That's a good idea. I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try means I will try it. I will take your advice and I will try what you said. So this is how you accept it. Why don't you take some aspirin? This is another way of offering or giving advice. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you take some aspirin? Why don't you lie down, for example? And then you'd better take some aspirin. You'd better. This is also giving advice. I took some aspirin, but it didn't do any good. Yeah, you can say, but it didn't help as well. It didn't help. That means it didn't really give any good results. I'm still sick. It didn't do anything positive or good to me. Here you have some words. You have cough syrup, You have cough drops, I believe. You have heating pad, you have ice pack, and you have bandage. So these are just terms you can use in these cases if you needed them. Sore throat, headache, you have, I can't see this one, but on hand, I think it's cut on hand, fever, cough, and yeah. Advising someone not to do something. How do you advise someone not to do something? It says, you look terrible. What's the matter? Maybe you shouldn't go to class today. So how do you advise someone not to do something? Not to do. So you can say, maybe you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Okay, so you use shouldn't when you want to advise someone not to do something. Maybe you shouldn't go to class today. Maybe you shouldn't go to work today. Maybe you shouldn't um, take cold water if you have a sore throat. Maybe you shouldn't drink cold water and so on. All right, and what else do we have? Let's scroll down and see. All right, I think this is it for today's lesson. So basically, we just learned how to say that you're not feeling well. You can say, I feel terrible, I feel horrible, I don't feel so well, I don't feel very well. And there's also a term or an idiom that you can use in English. You can say, I feel a little bit under the weather. You can say, I feel under the weather. That means I'm not feeling good. That means I'm a little bit sick. I'm just not feeling well. You can say that. All right, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.